Hello and welcome back. Today's episode is going to be on DxOMark. And the reason I'm doing the piece today is I see more and more internet buzz and chatter regarding DxOMark. People are citing it as a credible source. And I'll just tell you now, DxOMark is not a credible source. It reminds me of academia when a student cites Wikipedia as a credible source, and obviously the student would be subjected to admonishment from the professor because it's just an open source thing. Anybody can contribute. But DxOMark, you would think that it would be peer reviewed or vetted in some way, but the problem is the people there, if they're trying to vet each other or whatever, peer review each other, it's not working. It's just not working. The site is it's jacked up. The site is just horrible, and I'll go through all of this in this clip with you and discuss why DxOMark is so bad. Okay, so they cover basically the camera sensors, the body, and the lenses, and we'll cover both of them. Okay, so let's start with the sensor. So there are many different ways we can measure a camera, right? So I've written down some here. We can measure by weight, where the lightest camera would be the best. Form factor. We could also say, to make it small, mirrorless would be weighted more toward SLR. We could go ergonomics, with the best grip. Which camera has the best low light performance. We could go by cost, which camera is the cheapest. Buffer size. We could do weather and environmental sealing. So what I'm saying is there are many criteria by which to measure a camera. Okay, many. And if you wanted to skew the results, you could choose a single particular category to skew the results. And that's exactly what DxOMark has done. So the most obvious choice would be image quality, right? At the end of the day, image quality reigns king. Okay, and then that's how every lens and sensor should be measured, is by image quality. But DxOMark does not do that. And I have up here lines of resolution. DxOMark is totally weighted toward lines of resolution, and what that's code for is megapixels. So by default, the higher the megapixel count of the camera, the more lines it can resolve in theory, right? And therefore it gets the highest rating at DxOMark. And I'll cover teaching to the test in just a moment and where I'm going with this as far as the manufacturers. So I have here the greater than symbol, megapixels. So the more megapixels a manufacturer puts on its sensor, the higher the score it's going to get at DxOMark. And one of my major criticisms about DxOMark is it's heavily weighted toward Nikon, or if you want to pronounce it Nikon or whatever. Now I'm a Nikon guy. I've been shooting it all my life. I've been shooting Nikon. But DxOMark is very heavily weighted and biased toward Nikon. And I think it's very improper that a website like that, or a firm, is that biased. If you're going to do something like that, if you're going to maintain a website, it's really critical to remain neutral and as unbiased as one can possibly be, or the whole group of people. You figure there'd be some type of policing mechanism, some type of arbitrator, however you want to say it. Somebody that's keeping the playing field level within DxOMark, and there isn't. That person is absent, and that's why everything is slanted toward Nikon, and it's very improper. They hold the first, I don't know how many slots there for sensor. So this is where I'm getting at here. The Canon starts at number 35 with their 1DX, their top of the line pro flagship body. So they don't even have an appearance in ranking from 1 through 34. They don't come onto the scene until number 35, and even then it's their flagship $6,000, $6,500 body. So I guess we're expected to believe that a $500 consumer level Nikon, okay, just a consumer level camera, is better than a Canon 1DX, which costs $6,500. And the image quality from the 1DX is just phenomenal. It's absolutely beautiful. But they're ranked number 35. So somebody at DxOMark definitely has a grudge and a grievance with Canon, and it's totally obvious, okay, that they don't even make an appearance until ranking number 35. That's about as transparent as one can possibly get, that they have some type of a grudge or grievance with Canon, okay? Again, so that shatters their credibility right there. Their credibility is gone just the way that they treat Canon. And again, in full disclosure, I'm a Nikon guy, but the way they treat Canon is just, it's absurd. Okay, now I want to get back to teaching to the test. And so what I mean by that is, in various states, they have these standardized tests, right? And the administration, they're nervous, they want to score well on these state standardized tests for funding. And also if there's a decision to close certain schools, they want to make certain that they're not one of the schools chosen to close. So what some of these school districts do in individual schools, they teach to the test. So they're in possession of the year-end test, okay, the test that's administered, you know, near the end of the school year or whatever. So the school, they construct the curriculum or the program of instruction completely around the test, okay. So they'll spend 9 months of the school year constructing the curriculum and teaching so that at the end of the year students do well on this standardized test, okay? And that's called teaching to the test. So what happens is, this is why it's becoming an epidemic even in the camera world. Somehow DxOMark has gotten traction as a credible source, as a credible site. And again, so the camera manufacturers know that, okay, if we want to play the game, if we want to score well at DxOMark, we're going to have to make high megapixel sensors, because that's what they're scoring on. So if we're going to play the game, if we're going to score well and keep our products up in the upper rankings, we got to make high megapixel sensors, okay? And it's counterproductive. And I'm going to make a companion video on photosites, photosite density, and surface area of photosites and how they relate to image quality. But so my point is the camera manufacturers are making sensors now that are counterproductive to good image quality. They're making bad sensors just so that they can please DxOMark and receive good scores. Okay, and that's dangerous when a manufacturer deliberately makes a bad product just in order to get a good score from this website. Okay, so again, now you have these camera manufacturers following suit, and the reason I'm going there with this is, now Sony has their, I think it's the A7R, I'm not sure, but it's 36 megapixel. They followed suit from Nikon's D800, D810, 36 megapixel full frame. And it's rumored now that Canon is coming out with a 50 megapixel full frame sensor. Okay, 50 megapixels. That's medium format. Okay, that's the realm of medium format, which is a pretty large sensor, and they're going to try to pack the same amount of photosites onto a full frame wafer, chip, whatever you want to call it, sensor. And it's just the photosites are going to be so small that it's going to be a very counterproductive experience, right? Because the level of glass needed to resolve that is going to be astronomically expensive, okay? So it's crazy. But this is where we're going with DxOMark. They're kind of passively forcing the manufacturers to make high megapixel cameras, even though it's detrimental to the industry, okay? So that's the sensors in the bodies, okay? And also, I wanted to cover this, the actual name of the site, DxO. So D is obviously D. This is Nikon's nomenclature of their APS-C cameras from years ago. The X is like an algebra, it stands for a numeral, an unknown numeral. And the O is code for 0. So DxO is really D40, D50, D60, D70, and so forth, and so on, D90. So they're telegraphing their bias toward Nikon just in their name. Because you remember, if it was Canon, it was the EOS 40D. So it would be, right, it would be, just the D would come on the trail end. It would be, actually, if they wanted to be weighted toward Canon, it would be DxOMark, quite literally, right? They would be kind of juxtaposed a little bit in the naming convention. Okay, enough of that. So I want to come back to the glass. Okay, so all of the top spots at DxOMark for glass are reserved for Carl Zeiss lenses, okay? And they're phenomenal lenses. So when it comes to sensors, it's all weighted toward Nikon. You come to the glass, it's all slanted and biased toward Carl Zeiss. But it's great glass. So again, my grievance isn't so strong with the glass because Zeiss is phenomenal glass. But here's my grievance, okay? These three Nikon lenses are they're called the Holy Trinity of Nikon. Okay, each one of these is about $2,000, and the image quality from these lenses is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So the 70 through 200 is used for portraiture, okay, because it's a nice tight. You get good compression at that focal length. And it's generally for head and shoulders portraiture, okay? Again, this lens is about $2,200. It ranks at number 233 in their ranking scheme. Number 233. And it's probably one of the best lenses out there. It's used by so many pros. It's used by just an incredible amount of pros. Ranked number 233. The 14 through 24 is for architecture. It's really why you want to get buildings, interiors of lobbies, so forth and so on. You really want to get a large area in the frame. That's the architectural 14 through 24 landscape also. And this is the one that I've been wanting here. This is for boudoir and glamour, fashion, because you can get like full length, a person full length, or head to mid thigh, and it's generally the 24 through 70. It's used for every magazine cover, like most of all your magazine covers. If they're not shot by medium format, they're shot with the 24 through 70, either Canons or Nikons, because it's just that awesome. The image quality is just ridiculously awesome. Where is it ranked in the grand scheme of things? It's ranked number 291, which is a joke. It's an absolute joke that this lens can be ranked number 291. And it's really probably in the top 5 easily. It's even if you wanted to go to the top 10, it definitely has a spot in the top 10. But where does DxO rank it? Number 291. It's just, I'm at a loss. I'm truly at a loss at DxOMark. They are so far gone. They are so far out on the fringe of reality that I just don't see how people can cite DxOMark as a credible source. I really don't. I'm just at a loss of this. And they're getting more and more traction in the industry as a credible source. And what they do is they photograph charts. Okay, there's these charts, you know, with these different symbols and you know, like wheels and all these other things called MTF charts. But who photographs charts? In all honesty, nobody photographs charts. You go out and you photograph objects in three-dimensional space, right? We photograph buildings, we photograph people, we photograph wildlife, we photograph flowers. Just, I could go on, but we're photographing real things in real space, okay? And what DxOMark does is they take images of flat objects, these charts, okay? You can't do that. You just really can't do that. And I know what they're trying to do. I mean, it's admirable that they say they're trying to be objective. Okay, so this is the one way that they can claim objectivity is to photograph these charts and then count the lines of resolution, right? Determine the lines of resolution, and that's supposed to be neutral and unbiased. Well, if they're doing that, then why are they slamming Canon over on the sensors? Okay, so they lose their credibility there. So my point is it's like when you see these videos, and it drives me crazy, people review cameras, and what's one of the first things they do? They go out literally, they go out and find a brick wall, and they photograph a brick wall, okay? And what they're looking for is barrel distortion and pin cushioning, and they're looking at the lines, because the brick wall, the grout lines, right? You have grout lines, horizontal and vertical grout lines, and then you can see if they start to bow, right? You know, they're bowing out. And that's how you can see barrel distortion and pin cushioning. But that's easily correctable in post nowadays. You have, like Lightroom, they have lens profiles in there. So you find your lens, you actually, you know, you click in the box, and it fixes all that. It fixes vignetting, it fixes barrel distortion, pin cushioning, it can fix chromatic aberration. It can fix a lot of things. So why are we sweating some of these things? It drives me crazy when you got these pixel peepers who just they zoom in just ridiculously close. They're looking for stuff on the fringes and the corners. It's like, really, come on, guys. You know, guys and gals. It's ridiculous. And filming photographing these flat charts is part of the problem. It's the same. It's the equivalent of photographing a brick wall. Okay, if that's all you have to do is photograph brick walls and charts, then you're on the wrong glide path. Okay, because nobody photographs charts. Again, I'm at the danger of repeating myself. We photograph people, we photograph animals, photograph flowers, buildings, so forth and so on. Okay, so that's why. So again, just to recap, in the sensor category, they're totally biased toward Nikon and totally unfair toward Canon. On the glass, they're so detached from reality, photographing these flat charts. This is, again, every pro shooter, wedding shooters, people who shoot magazine covers, this is the industry standard, the Nikon 24 through 70 and the Canon 24 through 70L. Okay, so both companies make a 24 through 70 f2.8 fixed aperture. 291. I'm just completely at a loss. Not only that they could rank it that low, but how people can cite DxOMark in conversation or in a blog or in some type of internet chat room, or not a chat room, but a bulletin board, internet bulletin board like DP Review or Flickr or whatever the website. Is that who could possibly cite DxOMark as a credible source? So my point is, what I'm asking you to do very respectfully is, if you're very serious about your photography, please stop citing DxOMark, because you're citing a source that is so out there in outer space, so detached from reality. You kind of tip your own hand. You're showing your hand as a novice, who's someone who really, and I'm trying to tread very lightly here, but just the sheer fact, if you cite DxOMark, you're basically telling other people that you really don't know what you're talking about. You're just parroting stuff you've seen or heard in other places, okay? And it's bad form to do that, because any photographer, and I'm being very serious with this, any photographer worth his or her weight in salt knows that DxOMark is bullshit. DxOMark is nothing but bullshit. And I would never cite DxOMark ever in an intelligent conversation. And here's how bad it is, and I'm being serious with this. If I'm holding a conversation with another photographer, and we're talking, you know, and we're sharing ideas, if he or she starts citing DxOMark, in my mind, I'm shutting that person down. Like, I'm not going to be rude. I'll still listen. But in my mind, it's like, wow, okay, the conversation is over. Because if you're citing DxOMark, you're clueless. You're out there. You're just out there. So again, that's why I'm encouraging you, is if you want to save face, there's an old saying, let me give you this old saying, it's better to remain silent and thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. And that's exactly what applies here to DxOMark, because once you cite DxOMark, you throw it out there in conversation, you've spoken and removed all doubt. So yeah, DxOMark is bad. Stay away from DxOMark. I would highly encourage you, don't visit the site. Don't cite them as a source. Don't even mention them. Just stay away from DxOMark. Okay? Thank you for watching.